In case you missed it, full list of, federal government approves 9 new private universities. Those were headlines reported from the Punch newspaper this morning. In the Daily Post, by-election, Peter Obi now Uber politicians, coming from Julius Abure. I take that headline again. By-election, Peter Obi now Uber politician, coming from Julius Abure. Governor Rada seek transmit power to deputy. That's impressive. Wow, it's been a while we heard something of such. Governor Lawal makes promises to communities affected by bandit attacks in Zamfara. Police probe alleged 3 million extortion attempt by technical squad officers in Lagos. Abia communities ban sale of cooking gas in market. I can't be intimidated. Tambuwa Brick Silence reviews conversations with EFCC operatives. Tinubu asks Southeast at that's coming from the Minister of Information. Lagos launches protocol to improve justice for child sexual abuse victims. In the Vanguard newspaper, Democracy, don't undermine opposition parties, SMBLF cautions APC INEC. Labeling Nigerian politician parties as terror groups unjustified, PDP slams Canada. Nigeria suffering institutional neglect, policies somersault, Obi to Onitsha. Sorry, Obi of Onitsha, I beg your pardon. I take that headline again. It says Nigeria suffering international or institutional neglect, policy somersault. That's Obi of Onitsha. Federal government to spend 3.8 trillion naira to fix underwater issues in third mainland bridge. That's coming from Umai, the Minister of Works. And in the Nation newspaper this morning, Okonjo-Iweala give Tinubu credit for stabilizing economy. By-election, 17 parties, 637 candidates vying for 68 seats. Obi directs supporters to vote ADC candidate. ASU serves 21-day strike notice over unmet demand. Subsidy withdrawal facilitator of development, says Umba. Court or count APC out of terrorism. Basiru fires Canada court. Those are some of the headlines. I will be bringing you details of them in the course of the show this morning. We'll go for this breather. When we return, we'll bring you details. Do join us again.
Hello, good people of Ekiti State and its environment. For your private, political, family, or club meetings, and so on, of not more than 50 to 100 participants, we introduce to you Adamimogo Event Hall. Yes! Right at Oladoyin Palace, Adamimogo 107.7 FM's compound, Ido Ekiti. Ample parking space, good security, clean environment. You also have the opportunity to book for a media publicity of your event on our fast-growing social media platforms. All these for a talking. Simply visit us at Oladoyin Palace, Ido Ekiti, or call the following numbers for more inquiries: 0803 526 5812 or 0916 340 0878 or 0806 511 4430. You can also call 0806 380 8891 at Adamimogo Event Hall. We are waiting for your patronage.
Just joining us, the Daily Dose on Adamimogo 107.7 FM Ido Ekiti is what you are listening to at this time. Now let's go into the details of the stories of these headlines, I beg your pardon. And I start my reading this morning from the Nation newspaper. Okonjo-Iweala give Tinubu credit for stabilizing the economy. Says stability opens door for investment. That's coming from Edo, Minister of Finance. First Lady Lord's WTODG's 50 million Women's Fund. Now let's go into the details of the story. The Tinubu administration deserves credit for stabilizing the economy. Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said yesterday. She lauded President Bola Tinubu's sweeping economic reforms, describing them as pivotal to restoring economic stability and laying the groundwork for sustainable growth. She spoke after visiting the president at the State House in Abuja yesterday. Also yesterday, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, reiterated that Nigeria remains open and ready for business with the rest of the world. He pointed to improved economic indicators as evidence of a stable and investment-friendly environment. Dr. Nkonjo-Iweala, former finance minister and coordinating minister of the economy, commended the Tinubu administration's decisive policy directions. She believes the next focus should be on accelerating growth, cushioning citizens from the reform-induced cost of living crisis. There were other things that were said. In fact, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, was also made some comment as well. All of those things are detailed in the Nation newspaper this morning. Okonjo-Iweala give Tinubu credit for stabilizing economy. See details in the Nation newspaper. Newspaper this morning, federal government approves 9 new private universities. Says that the federal government has approved the establishment of 9 new private universities across the country. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced the approval on Wednesday while briefing the State House correspondent after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided by President Bola Tinubu in Abuja. He said the newly approved institutions were named. They were all named. Some in places where the newly approved institutions are in Abuja, in Kwara State, in Imo State, in Jigawa State, in Niger State, Imo State again, Lagos State, and Ogun State. Alausa disclosed that the Tinubu administration inherited 551 pending requests for the establishment of tertiary institutions, which was subjected to stricter approval guidelines. He said these reduced the list to 79 active applications, out of which 9 were cleared on Wednesday. There were other things that were said, and as to the developments involving the Nigerian Union of Nigerian University Commission, all of those things are written and reported in the Punch newspaper this morning. Federal government approves 9 private universities. Still with the federal government, Southeast at out of Tinubu's vision agenda coming from the federal government. Now it says the federal government has said that the Southeast region is at the heart of the vision and agenda of President Bola Tinubu-led administration. The government stressed that in various reforms, strategic and inclusive leadership of Tinubu, the Southeast region has not and will not be marginalized. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Muhammad Idris, stated this during citizens' engagement with the people of Enugu State on Thursday in Enugu. It was reported that the federal government team, led by the minister, is embarking on a 3-day citizenship engagement and tour of project in Enugu and Ebonyi State. It was also reported that the essence of the tour is to interact directly with citizens and showcase ongoing project of the President Bola Tinubu administration in the Southeast region. And there were other things that were said by the minister as he further explained that to address issues of marginalization, Tinubu established new development commission for all previously uncovered zones, ensuring no region is left behind. He added that the president's inclusive governance style is evident in balanced morning. ASUP serves 21-day strike notice over unmet demands. It says, it has this rider saying that NAT reject support fund for tertiary institution workers. It says that the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnic, ASUP, has given the federal government 21 days to meet its demands or face an industrial action. The academic union listed 13 demands it is asking the federal government to address within the period to prevent the closure of polytechnics and monotechnics nationwide. ASUP said the government's failure to satisfactorily address the 13 demands could lead to withdrawal of services of its members nationwide. The union said it took the position at its National Executive Council NEC meeting on Wednesday in Abuja. Addressing reporters at the end of the NEC meeting, ASUP President Shama S. Wanga said, and I quote, "A failure to utilize the window may lead to the declaration of a trade dispute and withdrawal of services of our members across public polytechnics and monotechnics nationwide. See details of that in the Nation newspaper this morning. ASUP serves 21-day strike notice over unmet demand. Punch newspaper this morning. Pension funds strike countdown begins as Pencom Labour disagree. As it rather, it says Pencom reacts, NSITF silence as Labour issues 7-day strike notice over alleged 40% pension fund diversion. Now let's go into the details and see what the story is all about. It says that the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has threatened to a nationwide strike if the federal government fails to return what it's described to be billions of naira taken from workers' insurance contributions. It also demanded that the government fill the leadership gap in the country's pension regulatory commission within 1 week. The NLC accused the federal government of siphoning 40% of contributions from the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund into the National Treasury. The fund, which is financed by payroll deductions from millions of workers, is meant to protect them in the event of injury or job loss. However, the National Pension Commission argued that the contributory pension scheme remains secure and continues to grow as it kicked against claims of misuse funds. The NLC said, and I quote, as speaking through the national president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, in a communique shared on Thursday, it says, and I quote, the NLC Central Working Committee expressed outrage at the ongoing assault on workers' social protection rights through the federal government's diversion of 40% of workers' contributions to the national coffers as revenue in flagrant violation of the statute establishing the NSITF. That's according to Joe Ajaro there speaking. The union noted the move violated the laws establishing the fund and stripping it of its role as a safety net. Again, in quotes, pension funds are deferred wages, not government revenue, Labour stated, warning that any further interference will trigger industrial actions. Well, see details of that development in the Punch newspaper this morning. The headline again says, pension funds strike countdown begins as Pencom Labour disagree. Now let's move into politics. And in the Vanguard newspaper this morning, labeling Nigerian political parties as terror groups unjustified, PDP slam Canada. Now, it says the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has condemned the decision of a Canada court declaring Nigeria's two major political parties, the People's Democratic Party, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, as terrorist organization. The party described the claim as misinformed, biased, and lacking evidence, urging that it be dismissed outright. Also, former Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the NNPCL, Mr. Olufemi Shoneye, described the dangerous precedent the court verdict set. It said it was a political earthquake. It said it was a political earthquake with consequences that could reverberate far beyond Canada's border, warning that if democratic nations don't push back on this kind of overreach, they may one day find their own politics on trial in a foreign court. End of quote. Those were the words of Shoneye there, Olufemi Shoneye, the former spokesperson for NNPCL. A federal court of Canada upheld the ruling that classified Nigeria's APC and PDP as terrorist group while denying asylum to a former member, Douglas, over his decade-long affiliation with both parties. And the development has been going on. You know, there have been reactions and counter-reactions since yesterday. But see details of that in the Vanguard newspaper this morning, labeling Nigeria political parties as terror groups unjustified, PDP slam Canada. In the Nation newspaper this morning, by-election, 17 parties, 637 candidates vying for 68 seats. Now let's go into the details. It says to ensure each free by-elections tomorrow, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has distributed sensitive materials in 12 states to the involved senatorial district and federal and state constituencies. The polls are holding in two senatorial districts, Edo Central and Anambra South, 5 federal constituencies, and 9 state constituencies. The seats became vacant as a result of death, loss of seat after litigation, and resignation. The Edo Central seat became vacant following the resignation of Senator Monday Okpebholo, who was elected as governor. The by-election would also hold in Ovia North, Ovia South federal constituency due to the elections of Dennis Idahosa as Edo State Deputy Governor. In Anambra State and Anambra South Senatorial District, voters would elect a replacement for Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who passed on last year. The political parties and candidates ended their campaign yesterday as stipulated by the Electoral Act. The National Coordinator, or Commissioner rather, and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekun, said in a statement that all biomoda voter accreditation system beavers had been configured for the elections. He also explained that 17 political parties have nominated 637 candidates for the 68 seats. Also, to ensure a peaceful atmosphere, no fewer than 20,850 personnel have been deployed across the affected districts and constituencies by the National Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC). Then, there were other things that were said. INEC is committed to credible polls, says Olumekun, and interventions from security agencies as well as other, relevant stakeholders. But see details in the Nation newspaper this morning. By-elections, 27 parties, 637 candidates vying for 68 seats. In the Nation newspaper, Obi direct supporters to vote ADC candidate. Says Labour, this writer says Labour Party standard bearer missing on INEC list. Now, it says that the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has employed his supporters to vote for the candidate of the African Democratic Congress (ADC) in tomorrow's by-elections. He directed them to vote for the in a post published via his X page yesterday. The former Anambra State Governor, who is in romance with the ADC-led coalition, said his decision was due to Labour Party having no candidate recognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on the ballot amid internal crisis. The post reads, and I quote, "On the 16th of August 2025, Nigerians will go to the polling unit again for the by-elections. This is expected to take place in 16 states of the Federation, with 2 senatorial, 5 House of Representatives, and 9 state assembly seats available for voting. Kindly note that the Labour Party has no candidate recognized by INEC due to internal crisis. I humbly urge every member of the obedient and Copdem family to go out and vote for the coalition party or political party, the ADC, in their respective states." Those were the words of Peter Obi there, as posted on his verified X handle. Obi direct supporters to vote ADC candidates. See details of that in the Nation newspaper. All right, a few calls before we wrap it up on this morning's edition of this show. 07047007701 or 07072766278. Please, I'd like to state that you only react to what has been read to us this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from? Oh, wrong number. Thank you so much for calling as well. 07047007701 or 07072766278. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Mr. Taiwo from the Doikiti.
Please go ahead, Mr.
I
Taiwo.
want to react quickly on the issue of Pencom labor saga of our thing. Now, this kind of story is giving those the workers headache. Now, the so-called Pencom, you are pushing workers into Pencom scheme. I could remember sometime when federal government will have to go into the pensions scheme to lend money for some other things. What is going to be the fate of the workers, both working and retired? You see, this kind of stories is scaring the workers. The workers believe that by the time they retire, they will they get their money from where they have put it when they were in service. So I want the federal government to, for God's sake, look into that issue and make sure that the workers they have good future. This is the reason why many workers are afraid to get retired. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo, for your contribution there. It's quite detailed. And if we can still have one more before we wrap it up, 0704700 7701 or 07072766278.
Good morning.
Good morning, and where are you calling us from?
This is Manuel from Mission Ekiti.
Please go ahead, sir.
The statement credited to Okonjo-Iweala is just his political statement. Because the beauty of any economic policy will reflect in the lives of an average citizen. That is not reflecting at all. Let me take for instance, now the government is crashing the prices of foodstuffs. But the farmers that are producing on a high level because the herbicide they are using is still expensive. Does that reflect a good policy? Well, God bless Nigeria. Any policy, as I said, does not reflect in the well-being of the citizen is a fake policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and God bless Nigeria, as you said. And that's a good, or that's that point where we wrap it up on this morning's edition of the Daily Dose and of this week's edition of the Daily Dose on Adamimogo 107.7 FM Doikiti. Till next week, where another beautiful edition will return. My name is Oladoyin Ayegbusi. Good morning.